All right, welcome back to the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. So, Mr. Rooney talked to Bob Pompiani yesterday and a couple other media personalities in Pittsburgh. A couple guys from the Post-Gazette, I think, in the Athletic and the Trib, and he made his rounds. And, you know, everyone obviously asked about Big Ben. Is he coming back? Well, Big Ben wants to work something out. Mr. Rooney wants to work something out. Looks like they want to figure out a way to bring him back, Paul. I think this is a mistake. I mean, I understand he's your franchise quarterback. He's the face of the team. But he's the past, and maybe he is the present for one more year. But you got to start thinking about the future, and I think you're doing yourself a disservice not seeing what Mason Rudolph can do, or even Dwayne Haskins or someone like that. Maybe the development of those guys. Plus, you would save $19 million. You'd eat the $20 million this year, but you're saving some money. Just get that contract off the books. I don't want to see it go 4 more years.
Well, I mean, I think there's a couple things here. Number one, if you were going to bring Ben Roethlisberger back, which it sounds like that's been the plan, it sounds like that's what they've wanted to do. They're talking about how to make it work financially. But if you're going to you bring him back, to me, why would you promote Matt Canada? Why not just keep Randy Fichtner for another year?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. Ben Roethlisberger, if Matt Canada is actually allowed to run his offense, do you think Ben Roethlisberger is going to be happy doing that? You think he's going to be happy handing the ball off and being under center and all the jet sweeps and all of the stuff that, the misdirections and all of the pre-snap, motion and all that stuff? He hated that this year. And he was able to reel it in because he had Randy Fichtner. But if Matt Canada is running the offense, I'm not sure exactly how Ben is going to fit in that offense and that he'd want to play under those conditions. And if that's the case, he'll be miserable by week 3, and it'll just be a wasted year. I think if you were going to bring Ben back, that was your plan, which it sounds like, listening to Rooney, yesterday, that's the plan. Why not just keep Randy Fichtner in place for another year? Give him a 1-year contract. Say, listen, you and Ben can ride out into the sunset together.
Well, you got to make a change. They had to make a change. You had to do something just to appease fans, appease people. I think sometimes you have to make a change for the sake of making a change, and that's what they did here. Maybe Matt Canada was the easiest transition into keeping Ben because he can kind of keep that offense and maybe not do his offense or do what he wants to do. And I don't like it. I just wanted to see them move on from everyone. Look, this team hasn't been good in the postseason, right? This isn't a very good team. They had a pretty good record, but when you think about it, they haven't done anything, Paul. They haven't done anything. So why bring all these guys back? Start maybe changing things up a little bit, replacing some guys.
Well, again, you say they had to do something to appease people. To me, that's not a good business decision. You have to understand that if you are going to bring back Ben Roethlisberger, he is going to want it to be the way he wants it to be. He's going to want to be able to call the plays and, do all the whole draw plays in the dirt stuff and all that nonsense. He's going to want to be able to have a lot of say in what goes on. And if you're trying to change up the offense by having a different offensive coordinator, it doesn't make sense to have a quarterback that's not going to want to run or actually doesn't even fit into that offense and clearly doesn't want to run it that way. It doesn't make sense. Either bring back Randy Fichtner and Ben together and say you get 1 more year, or move on from Randy, you also move on from Ben, and you start with, from scratch or whatever. To me, they've been kind of all over the map with the moves they've made. I don't know, the other thing is Art Rooney said, well, I'd love to have the whole roster back. If you could tell me we could have the whole roster and bring the whole team back, I'd be happy. Then 2 breaths later, he says, and by the way, James Conner, he isn't good enough. We're going to get rid of him. And in our running game, we need a whole bunch of changes. Okay, so which is it? Do you want the roster back, or do you want to make a lot of changes in the run game?
Why would you want the roster back? They haven't done anything. I don't want the roster back, right? Do what Tampa did.
I get that.
Do what Tampa did. Right. You get a quarterback, you surround yourself with stars. That's what they did, and they're in the Super Bowl now. I know the Steelers like to build from the draft, build their own players. Maybe that doesn't work anymore. Maybe you go to the route Tampa took.
But again, the Steelers have cap issues. It's not like they can just go out and sign a bunch of guys like that.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that is a huge issue.
And if they're going to do it, it would require them cutting a guy like Joe Hayden or cutting a guy like Steven Nelson or, getting rid of DeCastro, having Pouncey retire. I mean, they could free up cap money, but then you're basically peeling the team apart. So, it's and you still have to sign TJ Watt. You still have to sign Bud Dupree probably to something. So I just don't know that there's an easy answer other than what you and I are talking about, which is blow it up this year.
Yeah.
And move on and understand whatever you get out of 2021 is fine, but you're building for 22 and 23 and 24.
All right, let's go out to Dom and Monessen. How you doing, Dom?
Yes, first off, I think that Art Rooney is not a good owner. I think he's very disappointing when it comes to making decisions and understanding what the team needs. You could tell by that terrible press conference he gave where he was basically defending how great they were, even though they lost 5 or 6 down the stretch. Let me just say this.
Yeah.
By the way, Rick, I'm disappointed in Paul. My wife, Amanda, doesn't like him or you, but the drinking.
Thanks, Tom. So we somehow got Amanda on the show tonight. About the drinking. I don't even drink. I don't get it. I don't know where this is coming from. Anyways, Paul, back to what he was saying. I kind of disagree with Dom here, only because I think Art Rooney's a great owner. I mean, they have one of the greatest ownerships in the NFL. Art Rooney, yes, he's the owner and he runs a team, but he's not making all the decisions. That's Colbert, Tomlin, and those guys. And he has to say the right things, right? He has to be nice when he gets out there and talks.
Well, again, I think part of the problem with the Steelers is the Steelers have done things the same way for years and years and years and years, and they've had a degree of success that you look at and say, okay, well, it's hard to argue with what they've done. But I think that the model probably needs updated. I mean, I think it's still rooted in, a time long ago, and there are some things that they do that are probably too conservative, or there is some, they wear this stability thing as a badge of honor, and sometimes I think it hurts them. I think there are some things they need to do to update their model.
All right, let's go back out to the phone lines. We got Rick on line 3. How you doing, Rick?
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good. Thanks for calling.
Hey, first to address something the previous caller said was that the Rooneys do things wrong, and I truly believe they do things correctly.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, I think that's laughable what that guy said.
Secondly, I mean, we could do something with Ben's contract like they did with the Mets did with Bonilla, and spread his remaining amount.
But Rick, do you want to be tied to a guy for 30 years? Ben is probably their best option for 1 year. But at $40 million, $19 million, what he would make, $15 million plus the $4 million, I don't know. I mean, does he have one more year? He's probably their best option. But if the Steelers, I think, are going to look towards the future, I would try to save that money, build a team, see what Mason Rudolph can do, and then you're saving that money. You're going to pay him, what, a couple $1 million, Paul? And then you're going to have 17+ million to go out and get someone else. You're going to see what Mason Rudolph can do. And if you're bad, it's a win-win. If you're good, you're good. You make the playoffs. If you're bad, then maybe you have a chance to draft a quarterback high.
Well, and I think the other thing is if they really wanted to call Ben's bluff, because remember part of what Ben said yesterday was, he wants to play and money isn't an object and all this other stuff. Okay, well, how about this, Ben? Take a pay cut. Not a restructuring, you're still going to get all of your money and maybe we have to give you some more. How about you take a straight for that $19 million that you are owed or whatever on your contract that we can actually play with, take $15 million pay cut, free it up, we'll pay you $4 million. That way we only have, the $22 million dead cap money. So now we're talking about $26 million cap hit, which is far more in line with what we can do. You think that would happen? You think he would agree to taking a pay cut?
But maybe he
ain't happening.
No, but maybe would he do something like this? I know this is probably unrealistic too, but say you do a 2-year extension with him and you pay him basically $1 million total for next year and you spread that money over 2 years, then it's doable. Would you be okay with that? And would he be okay with it? There's no way he'd be okay with making whatever the veteran million would be next year, whatever it might be. Just we'll say a
Well,
million or
again,
two.
you're still talking about extending the amount of dead money you have on your salary
But
cap.
I'm only adding 1 or 2 million for him at another year, and potentially have him for 2 years.
Again, you still have $22 million of dead cap room that you have to deal with. Whether you do it in 1 year or 3 years or 2 years, 22 million is the number that it will not go away.
Yeah.
I mean, you could cut them right now, but you still owe 22 million or whatever you want, 22 million on your salary cap. So there's all these cute ways that you can restructure, but all of it would still mean there would be a portion of your salary cap not usable for a year or two.
All right, we got to go to our Tri-State Office Furniture tweet of the day, and it's about the Battle in Buccos and what they're doing or not doing here in the offseason. But Jon Heyman, this is light at the end of the tunnel right here, Paul. Pirates looking for veteran starters for rotation, maybe an outfielder. After trades, they need to acquire pieces. No question about that, Jon Heyman. They need to go out and get someone. I'm just afraid those veteran pitchers and outfielders might not work out. We got to go to break. Back in a couple minutes.
Yeah.